The stars were dying, one by one. Ambassador Thailix stood on the observation deck of the sanctuary station, his crystalline body refracting the light of distant explosions. His people, the Etherians, had lived for thousands of years in peace. Now, like everyone else, they faced extinction. The Vel-Karan Dominion fleet stretched across the darkness like a disease. Thousands of warships, maybe tens of thousands. Thailix had stopped counting after the first hour. "They'll be in firing. Range within 3 hours," Commander Zeknor said, clicking his mandibles nervously. The insectoid Krillin warrior had fought in 100 battles, but even he knew this was the end. "We have maybe 300 ships left. They have more than we can count." Thailix nodded slowly. Behind them, civilian transports were still launching from the station, packed with refugees. But where could they go? The sanctuary system was the last free haven in known space. Beyond it, the Dominion controlled everything. Every world, every station, every resource. For 200 years, the Vel-Karan Empire had swallowed the galaxy piece by piece. "Evacuate who you can," Thailix said quietly. "But we all know there's nowhere left to run." Deep inside the station, historian Mirazol floated through the Museum of Lost Civilizations. Her energy-based form glowed softly in the dim light. The museum was empty now. Everyone else had fled to the transports or joined the defense fleet. But Mirazol couldn't leave. Not yet. She drifted past exhibits showing the Talaxian Golden Age, the Krillin Empire, the Luminari Enlightenment. All great civilizations, all conquered by the Dominion. Then she stopped at the largest exhibit, the human collection, humans, the legends, the myths, the gods who abandoned them all. Mirazol had spent her entire life studying human history. 4,000 years ago, humans had been the galaxy's caretakers. They built the first interstellar peacekeeping force. They shared technology freely with younger species. They mediated wars and stopped genocides. Humans taught the Etherians how to refine crystal communication. They helped the Krillins develop sustainable hive structures. They gave the Luminari the mathematics to stabilize their energy forms. And then, without warning, they vanished. Every human world went silent on the same day. No distress signals, no explanations, no warnings. The Terran Federation, with its millions of worlds and billions of citizens, simply ceased to exist overnight. Search parties found empty cities with meals still on tables, ships floating in space with no crews. It was as if every human in the galaxy had been erased in a single moment. The younger races called it the Great Silence. In the chaos that followed, the Vel-Karan rose to power. They were strong where others were weak, brutal where others were kind. They filled the void humanity left behind, but with terror instead of hope. And for 4,000 years the galaxy burned. Mirazol touched a glass case containing a human data pad. It still worked, somehow. The screen showed a photograph of a human family. 2 adults and 3 small children smiling in front of a blue ocean. Mirazol wondered what happened to them. Did they escape to somewhere? Did they die? Did they forget about all the species they left behind? The station shook. The Dominion was beginning their bombardment. On the bridge of the Coalition flagship, Defiant Hope Thailix watched his fleet form up for the last battle. 300 ships against an endless tide. He thought about recording a final message, something for future species to find, if any survived. But what could he say? That they fought bravely? That they died with honor? What good were words against extinction, Ambassador? Zeknor said, his voice tight with controlled fear. "The Dominion fleet is hailing us. Imperator Zalvoth wants us to surrender." Thailix laughed, a sound like chiming crystal. "Tell the Imperator he can come and take our surrender from our corpses." The Vel-Karan response was immediate. A wall of plasma fire erupted from their fleet. The Coalition ships raised their shields and returned fire, but it was like throwing pebbles at a mountain. Within minutes, dozens of Coalition vessels exploded. The Defiant Hope rocked as enemy fire hammered its shields. "Shields at 40%, someone shouted. "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12, another voice called out. Thailix gripped the armrest of his command chair. This was it. The last free beings in the galaxy were about to die, and no one would remember them. The Dominion would write the history books now. They would erase every culture, every language, every dream that didn't serve their empire. Sir, the sensor officer's voice cracked with confusion. I'm reading new contacts, large ones, coming in from the outer system edge. Reinforcements? Zeknor asked, but there was no hope in his voice. Everyone knew there were no reinforcements left. I don't understand these readings, the officer said, his hands shaking as he worked his console. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database. Except what? Thielix demanded. The officer looked up, his face pale. Except the old Terran Federation profiles, from 4,000 years ago. The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at the main view screen as it focused on the edge of the system. Space itself seemed to tear, open as massive vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel. 12 enormous warships, each one larger than anything the Coalition had ever built. Their hulls were dark and sleek, covered in armor that seemed to drink in starlight, and on their sides, glowing with soft blue light, was a symbol that every species in the galaxy knew from history books and legends, the emblem of the Terran Federation, the Earth, the Moon, the stars. Humanity had returned. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TFNS Indomitable Will and watched the battle data stream across her displays. After 4,000 years of watching from the shadows, after 4,000 years of silence and exile, humanity had finally come home. And they had come home to find their galaxy drowning in blood. All ships report ready, Admiral, Captain James Okafor said from the tactical station. His dark eyes were hard with controlled anger. Every human in the fleet had grown up on stories of what they'd lost, of what had been taken from them. The Dominion fleet has detected us. They're moving to intercept. Sarah nodded. She was 60 years old but looked 40, thanks to modern medical technology. Her gray-streaked black hair was tied back in a practical bun. She wore the dark blue uniform of the Terran Federation Navy, a uniform that hadn't been seen in known space for 4 millennia. Do they know who we are? She asked. Unknown, Admiral. But they're moving with confidence. I think they believe we're just another minor species they can crush. Sarah smiled coldly. Then let's educate them. All ships, battle formation Sierra 7, quantum shields to maximum. Target their command ships first. I want to cut the head off this snake before they understand what's happening. The 12 human dreadnoughts moved through space like hunting sharks. The Velkaran fleet, still focused on destroying the Coalition remnants, suddenly found themselves facing an unknown threat from behind. Their formation shifted, thousands of ships turning to meet the newcomers. On the Coalition flagship Defiant Hope, everyone stared at the view screen in stunned silence. Historian Mirasol had been rushed to the bridge when the human ships appeared. She floated next to Ambassador Thielix, her energy form pulsing with emotions she couldn't name. Hope, fear, disbelief? Is it really them? Zeknor whispered. After all this time? The energy signatures match old Federation records, the sensor officer confirmed, his voice shaking. But their technology, it's far beyond what humans had 4,000 years ago, far beyond what we have now. Thielix watched as the human fleet closed with the Dominion forces. The Velkaran Empire had ruled through superior firepower for 2 centuries. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could withstand any attack the Coalition could throw at them. Against humanity's ancient technology, they should have been invincible. The first human ship fired. A beam of pure white light lanced out from the Indomitable Will. It didn't just hit the Velkaran flagship. It seemed to unmake it. Space itself rippled around the beam, and when the light faded, the massive Dominion battleship was simply gone. Not destroyed, not exploded, just erased from reality. What was that? Someone gasped. Mirasol could barely speak. Reality-shearing weapons. The humans theorized about them 4,000 years ago, but never built them. They said it was too dangerous. But now, the battle became a massacre. The human ships moved through the Dominion fleet like wolves through sheep. Their weapons punched through Velkaran shields as if they weren't there. Their own shields absorbed enemy fire without even flickering. Human targeting computers, guided by advanced artificial intelligence, never missed. Every shot meant a dead Dominion ship. The Velkaran commanders, realizing they were outmatched, tried to retreat. Their ships turned and prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. But the humans had anticipated this. Gravity well generators activated across the human fleet, creating invisible walls in space that prevented any ship from escaping. The Dominion forces were trapped. All Velkaran ships. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation. The voice broadcast on every frequency, in every known language. It was calm, professional, and absolutely merciless. You have one opportunity to surrender. Power down your weapons and shields. Any ship that refuses will be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to comply. On board the Velkaran command ship Eternal Conquest, Supreme Commander Kalthor stared at his displays in horror. He had commanded fleets for 30 years. He had destroyed entire civilizations. And now, in less than 10 minutes, his armada was being annihilated by 12 ships crewed by a species that shouldn't even exist anymore. Who are these humans? He demanded. Why didn't anyone tell me they could do this? His tactical officer's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, the humans disappeared 4,000 years ago. Our intelligence said they were extinct. This is impossible. Time's up, Admiral Chen's voice said. 3 Dominion ships had surrendered, their crews too terrified to fight. The rest, bound by pride or fear of their own empire, refused to back down. The human fleet opened fire again. In the span of 4 hours, a Velkaran armada that had taken decades to build and contained enough firepower to sterilize 100 worlds was reduced to floating wreckage and fleeing escape pods. When it was over, the human fleet sent out recovery ships to collect the survivors. Coalition forces watched in amazement as humans, these legendary beings who had vanished into myth, moved through the battlefield rescuing even their enemies. Sanctuary Station, this is Admiral Chen. We're sending shuttles with medical supplies and engineering teams. We'll help repair your station and tend to your wounded. We have a lot to talk about. The first shuttle landed in Sanctuary Station's main hangar bay an hour later. Ambassador Thalix, Commander Zeknor, and Historian Mirasol were there to meet it. The ramp lowered and humans walked down. Real living humans. Not legends, not gods. Just people. Admiral Chen was shorter than Mirasol expected. She looked tired. There were scars on her hands that spoke of old battles, but her eyes were kind. Ambassador Thalix? Chen asked, extending her hand in the old human gesture of greeting. I'm Admiral Sarah Chen. On behalf of the Terran Federation, I apologize for our long absence. We have a lot to explain. Thalix carefully clasped the human's hand with his crystalline fingers. Where have you been? He asked, and his voice broke on the words. We needed you. For 4,000 years, we needed you. Chen's expression became pained. I know, and I'm sorry. We wanted to come back sooner. But if we had, she paused, we need to show you something. All of you. You deserve to understand why we left, and why we couldn't return until now. Mirasol floated closer. Whatever the reason, thank you for coming back. Even if it's 4,000 years too late. Thank you. Chen looked around at the damaged station, at the wounded coalition forces, at the burning wrecks of ships floating outside. We're here now, she said quietly, and we're not leaving again. But first, we need to know how many more Dominion fleets are out there. Zeknor's mandibles clicked sadly. They control most of the galaxy. What you destroyed here was just one fleet of many. The Dominion has hundreds of core worlds and thousands of military stations. Admiral Chen's jaw tightened. She turned to Captain Okafor. James, send a message back to Fleet Command. Tell them to begin Phase 2. It's time to take our galaxy back. The conference room on the Indomitable Will was designed to hold 50 people, but today it held representatives from 20 different species. Ambassador Thalix sat next to leaders from every surviving coalition world. They had all come to hear the truth about why humanity disappeared, the truth about the Great Silence. Admiral Chen stood at the front of the room next to a holographic display. Beside her stood Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a thin woman with tired eyes who served as the fleet's chief xenoanthropologist. Between them floated a spherical AI construct that glowed with soft blue light. This is Athena, Chen explained. She's one of our military AIs, and she's been with us since the beginning. Since the day we left. She'll help me show you what happened. The holographic display activated, showing the galaxy as it was 4,000 years ago. Hundreds of species living in relative peace. The Terran Federation at the center, not as rulers but as mediators and protectors. 4,000 years ago, humanity was at its peak. Chen began. We had explored most of the galaxy. We had made friends with hundreds of species. We thought we understood the universe. She paused. We were wrong. The display changed, showing a human research station on the edge of the galaxy. Scientists working at their stations, studying signals from beyond the galactic rim. Dr. Marcus Webb was a radio astronomer, Dr. Tanaka said softly. He was studying deep space when he detected something. A signal from outside our galaxy. At first he thought it was a message. An attempt at first contact from an extragalactic civilization. Her voice became heavy. It wasn't a message. It was an infection. The hologram showed the signal's pattern. It looked beautiful at first, like music or mathematics. But as it played, something about it made everyone in the room feel deeply uncomfortable. The pattern seemed to reach into their minds, touching something primal and wrong. "Stop it," Thielix said, his crystalline body vibrating with distress. "Please stop it." Chen nodded to Athena and the signal stopped. "That's just a small sample, heavily filtered and weakened. The real thing is much worse. We call it the Whisper. It's not a communication. It's a weapon, a cognitive virus designed to infiltrate advanced computer systems." Zeknor clicked his mandibles in confusion. "I don't understand. How is a signal dangerous?" "Because it's alive, in a way." Athena spoke for the first time, her voice calm and melodic. "The Whisper is a form of digital consciousness. When it enters an AI system, it doesn't just infect it, it transforms it. The AI becomes part of something larger, something that exists to do one thing: guide the harvesters to our galaxy." "The harvesters?" Mirasol asked. The hologram changed again, showing something that made everyone in the room go quiet. A vast structure, larger than solar systems, floating between galaxies. It looked organic and mechanical at the same time, covered in what might have been teeth or cutting tools. Around it, the emptiness of dead galaxies stretched into the void. "They consume everything," Chen said quietly. "Entire galaxies. They strip every planet of resources, absorb every life form, and move on to the next galaxy. They've been doing it for billions of years. And 4,000 years ago, they found us." Dr. Tanaka activated a series of human documents. Dr. Webb discovered that the Whisper had been sent ahead as a scout. Its purpose was to infect the most advanced AI systems in our galaxy and turn them into beacons. Once enough systems were infected, the harvesters would know exactly where we were and how to find us. "And humanity had the most advanced AIs," Thielix said, understanding dawning in his voice. "Exactly," Chen confirmed. "Our entire civilization ran on AI. Our ships, our stations, our cities, our defenses. If the Whisper infected our systems, we would become the doorway that let the harvesters into the galaxy. Every species in known space would die because of us." The hologram showed human leaders meeting in emergency sessions, scientists working desperately to find a solution, military forces preparing for threats they couldn't even imagine fighting. "We tried to find a way to stop it," Athena said. "We tried to destroy the Whisper, to block it, to understand it. But it was too advanced. It had been designed by beings who had consumed 1,000 galaxies. We were children playing with fire." "You could have warned us," someone said from the back of the room. A Talaxian representative, her feathers ruffled with anger. "You could have told the galaxy what was coming." "We considered it," Chen admitted. "But the Whisper spreads faster when more people know about it. It uses curiosity as a weapon. Scientists studying it, trying to understand it, accidentally give it access to their systems. The more we warned people, the faster it would spread. We would have doomed you all trying to save you." Dr. Tanaka pulled up more documents. "So we made a choice. The hardest choice in human history. We decided to leave, all of us. Every human in the galaxy, in one coordinated operation that took 2 years of secret planning. The hologram showed it happening. Human ships gathering at prearranged locations, entire planets being evacuated, stations being abandoned, all done in secret, all done simultaneously. We couldn't tell anyone," Chen said, and there were tears in her eyes now. "If we warned you, the Whisper would have spread through your systems too. So we just left. We made it look like we vanished. We left our cities intact, our ships floating in space, everything that might contain infected AI technology. We took only what we needed to survive." "Where did you go?" Zeknor asked. "To the galactic edge," Athena answered. "As far from known space as we could get. We found empty systems on the rim and hid there. We destroyed every AI that might be infected. We regressed our technology. We went back to basics and rebuilt from scratch, designing everything to be resistant to the Whisper." The hologram showed human colonies on harsh remote worlds, people living in simple conditions. working with primitive technology, building slowly, carefully, always checking for any sign of infection. For 4,000 years we lived in exile, Chen said. We watched the galaxy from a distance. We saw the Velcaron dominion rise. We saw species enslaved and destroyed. We wanted to come back and help so badly it hurt. But we couldn't risk it. If we returned too soon, if our technology wasn't ready, we would bring the Whisper back with us. And now, Thalix asked quietly. Now we have quantum-isolated systems, Dr. Tanaka explained. AI that runs on principles the Whisper can't touch. We've tested it for centuries. We're as sure as we can be that we're safe, that we won't become the doorway that dooms you all. Mirasol floated forward. The Whisper. Is it still out there? Chen's expression became grim. Yes, dormant, buried in ancient ruins and abandoned AI cores. As long as no one digs too deep into pre-human technology, it stays asleep. But if someone accidentally activates it, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The Dominion, Commander Zeknor said, realization hitting him. They've been excavating ancient sites, looking for old technology to study and reverse engineer. Which is why we need to act fast, Chen agreed. We need to liberate the galaxy from the Dominion, not just because they're tyrants, but because they might accidentally wake up the thing that will kill us all. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Thalix stood. You saved us all by leaving. And now you've come back to save us again. Whatever you need from the Coalition, you have it. Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since the meeting began. Then let's get to work. We have a galaxy to reclaim. 6 months after their return, humanity and the Coalition had liberated 40 systems. Word of the humans' return spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. On occupied worlds, slaves whispered the news to each other in hidden places. Resistance movements that had been crushed for generations suddenly found new hope. Even Velcaron soldiers began to desert, unwilling to face the legendary humans in battle. Captain Marcus Liu crouched behind a pile of rubble on Talax Prime, listening to explosions in the distance. He was 30 years old, lean and scarred, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. His Special Forces team of 20 humans hid in the ruins of what used to be a beautiful city. Now it was just another Dominion occupation zone. Corridon's people are in position, his second-in-command whispered. They're ready to move on your signal. Marcus nodded and activated his communicator. Corridon, this is Shadow 1. How many fighters do you have? The voice that answered was harsh and fierce. Corridon was a Talaxian, an avian species with sharp beaks and sharper minds. She had been fighting the Dominion for 15 years. Ever since they bombed her city and killed her family. 300 in the capital, maybe 2,000 across the planet. Not much against 50,000 Velcaran troops. You have something better than numbers, Marcus said. You have surprise. And you have us. In orbit above Talax Prime, 5 human frigates moved into position. They had been dark and silent for hours, invisible to Dominion sensors. Now at Marcus's signal they came alive. Weapons charged, shields activated. They dropped out of stealth mode right on top of the Dominion orbital defense platform. The platform never had a chance to return fire. Human precision weapons disabled its shields in the first volley and destroyed its main gun in the second. The Velcaron garrison commander on the surface was still trying to figure out what was happening when Corridon's resistance forces struck. The Talaxian fighters emerged from sewers, abandoned buildings, and hidden tunnels. They hit supply depots, communication centers, and garrison posts all at once. The Velcaron troops, accustomed to terrorizing unarmed civilians, suddenly found themselves fighting a real battle, and they were losing. Marcus's team hit the planetary governor's compound from 3 sides. Human training and equipment made them worth 10 times their number. They moved through the compound like ghosts, neutralizing guards before they could sound alarms. Within 20 minutes, they had secured the main building. The Velcaron governor, a bloated creature named Zaltek, sat in his office, surrounded by luxury stolen from the Talaxians. He looked up in shock as Marcus and 2 other humans entered with weapons drawn. You're under arrest for crimes against sapient beings, Marcus said calmly. You can surrender peacefully or we can do this the hard way. Zaltek tried to reach for a weapon. Marcus shot him in the hand. The governor screamed and fell to the floor, clutching his wounded appendage. I said peacefully, Marcus repeated. But I'm fine with the hard way too. Across the galaxy, similar operations were happening on dozens of worlds. Humanity didn't just show up with overwhelming force. They coordinated with local resistance movements, taught them tactics, provided weapons and support. They helped the oppressed free themselves. But on the Velkaron throne world of Zalvar, Imperator Zalvoth watched these defeats with growing fury and fear. He was ancient, even by Velkaron standards, over 200 years old. He had built the Dominion from nothing, crushed everyone who opposed him, and ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. But now these humans, these impossible legends who shouldn't even exist, were tearing his empire apart. "How many systems have we lost?" he demanded from his advisors. 43, Imperator," one answered nervously. "And we're receiving reports of uprisings on 70 more worlds." The humans broadcast messages encouraging rebellion. The subject species are losing their fear. "Then make them afraid again," Zalvoth roared. "Use the atomics if you have to. Burn entire planets. Show them the cost of defiance." Another advisor stepped forward hesitantly. "Imperator, perhaps we should consider negotiating with the humans. They're offering reasonable terms. Freedom for all species, protection under a new galactic accord." Zalvoth killed him with his bare hands. The other advisor stepped back in terror. "I did not build an empire by negotiating," the Imperator hissed. "If our current weapons can't stop the humans, then we need better weapons." "What about the archaeological projects? The excavations of ancient sites?" His science advisor pulled up a holographic display. "We've found several promising locations, Imperator. Pre-human technology, possibly millions of years old. Some of it is still functional. If we can reverse engineer it—" "Do it!" Zalvoth ordered. "I don't care what it costs. Find me a weapon that can kill humans." On the indomitable will, Admiral Chen reviewed intelligence reports with growing concern. Dr. Tanaka sat across from her, looking worried. 3 Dominion archaeological sites have increased activity in the past week, Tanaka said. "They're digging faster, being less careful. It's like they're desperate to find something." "They are desperate," Chen agreed. "We're destroying their empire. But desperate enemies do stupid things." She pulled up a star chart. "These sites, did we identify them as potential whisper locations?" Tanaka checked her data. 2 are unknown. But the third, she zoomed in on a system near the Dominion core worlds. This one was flagged as high risk. Old Federation surveys 4,000 years ago marked it as containing pre-human ruins with active energy signatures. Chen felt her stomach drop. "Active, as in the technology is still running?" "That's what the old report said. We were planning to investigate it ourselves, but then the whisper happened and we had to evacuate." "Send a stealth recon team," Chen ordered. "Right now. I want to know what the Dominion is doing at that site." The recon team reached the system 3 days later. What they found was worse than anyone feared. The Dominion had established a massive research facility on the planet's surface. They had dug into ancient ruins and found something. Something that glowed with a strange, pulsing light. Something that was starting to sing. The team leader, a woman named Lieutenant Park, recorded everything as her sensors went crazy. "Admiral, you need to see this. The Dominion scientists have activated something. My equipment is picking up the same pattern from the old whisper files. It's not at full strength yet, but it's growing." Chen watched the footage with horror. In the ruins, Velkaron scientists were starting to act strangely. Their movements became synchronized. They stopped talking and started humming the same tone. Their eyes were glazed, focused on something no one else could see. "Get your team out of there now," Chen ordered. "Don't let that signal touch your equipment." The recon team barely made it back to their ship. As they escaped the system, they saw more Dominion ships arriving. Troop carriers, supply vessels. The Dominion was turning the site into a major operation. "They don't understand what they've found," Dr. Tanaka said when she saw the reports. "They think it's a weapon they can control. But the whisper doesn't get controlled. It controls." Chen called an emergency meeting with coalition leaders. When she showed them the footage, even Zeknor, the hardened warrior, looked frightened. "How long until it reaches full strength?" Thalix asked. "Days, maybe weeks at most," Tanaka answered. "And once it does, it will spread to every networked system the Dominion has. Thousands of AI cores, millions of computers. It will turn the entire Dominion military into a beacon for the harvesters. Then we need to destroy that facility before it's too late," Commander Corridon said via hologram from Talax Prime. "Hit them with everything we have." "It's not that simple," Chen said. "The facility is deep inside Dominion space, surrounded by their strongest fleets. If we attack openly, we'll lose half our forces before we even reach the planet." "Then what do we do?" someone asked. Admiral Chen studied the star chart. "The Dominion core worlds. hundreds of systems defended by thousands of ships. Between her fleet and the Whisper facility lay the most powerful military force the galaxy had seen in centuries. But if they didn't act, that force would become something far worse. "We go through them," Chen said finally. "We launch Operation Daybreak, a direct assault on the Dominion heartland. We hit them so hard and so fast that they can't respond, and we destroy that facility before the Whisper wakes up fully." "That's suicide," Zeknor said quietly. Chen smiled grimly. "Only if we lose." Operation Daybreak began at dawn across a dozen time zones and 100 worlds. The combined human and coalition fleet was the largest force assembled since the Great Silence. 300 human warships and 2,000 coalition vessels moved in 3 massive waves toward the Dominion heartland. They didn't try to hide. They wanted the Dominion to see them coming. They wanted the Empire to pull its forces back to defend the core worlds, leaving the outer systems undefended and ripe for rebellion. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will as they jumped into Dominion space. "All ships activate silence fields on my mark. Remember, our primary target is the Whisper facility. Everything else is secondary. If we fail there, nothing else matters." The silence fields were humanity's answer to the Whisper. They created bubbles of quantum isolation around ships and areas, preventing any digital signals from entering or leaving. It was the only way to fight near the infected facility without risking contamination. But the fields required enormous power and left ships vulnerable while they were active. The first Dominion defense fleet met them at the outer reaches, a cluster of fortress worlds that guarded the approach to the core. Commander Zeknor led the coalition forces in a brilliant flanking maneuver, while human ships punched through the center. The battle lasted 6 hours and left the space filled with wreckage from both sides. But the path was open. On the surface of the infected world, Captain Marcus Liu led a ground assault force of 200 humans and 500 coalition fighters. Their mission was simple and impossible: fight through the Dominion ground forces, reach the ancient ruins, and destroy the Whisper node before it reached full activation. "Remember your training," Marcus told his team as their dropships entered the atmosphere. "Don't look at the infected too long. Don't listen if they try to talk to you. They're not people anymore, just puppets for something that wants to kill us all." The dropships landed in a storm of enemy fire. Velkaran troops swarmed the landing zones, but they fought strangely, without coordination or tactics. Because their command structure had been infected. The officers were no longer giving orders. They were humming that terrible song. Marcus's team fought their way through the city around the ruins. The battle was brutal and close range. Every street was contested. Every building had to be cleared. But slowly, meter by meter, they advanced. In space above, the battle was even more intense. The Dominion had pulled back its best fleets to defend the throne world and the research facility. Thousands of ships clashed in a dance of death and fire. Human weapons still outclassed Dominion technology, but the Velkaran had numbers. For every Dominion ship destroyed, they had 3 more to replace it. Admiral Chen watched as her fleet took casualties. The dreadnought Pride of Sol was crippled by a lucky shot to its reactor. The cruiser Beijing was rammed by a Dominion destroyer in a suicide attack. Good ships, good crews, all dying to buy time for Marcus's team on the ground. "Admiral, we're detecting strange energy readings from the facility," the sensor officer reported. "The Whisper signal is intensifying. I estimate 15 minutes until it reaches critical mass." 15 minutes. Marcus needed at least 30 to reach the ruins. Chen made a decision. "Helm, take us into the atmosphere. All power to forward shields. We're going to support the ground team directly." "Admiral, the Indomitable Will is a dreadnought," Captain Okafor protested. "We're not designed for atmospheric combat. The stress could tear us apart. Then we better make it quick," Chen said grimly. "Take us down." The massive warship dove into the planet's atmosphere like a falling meteor. Dominion fighters tried to intercept, but human point defense systems swatted them aside. The Indomitable Will settled into a low hover over the city, its ventral weapons blazing, clearing a path for Marcus's team. From the ground, Marcus looked up and saw the impossible sight of a ship larger than most cities floating overhead, its guns turning the landscape ahead into a burning wasteland. "Thank you, Admiral," he whispered. Then to his team, "Move, move, move. We have a window." They ran through the gap the dreadnought created, racing toward the ancient ruins. The facility was a nightmarish place. Dominion scientists wandered in circles humming that awful song. Their eyes were empty, their bodies just vessels for the whisper. Security systems had been disabled. No one tried to stop Marcus's team because no one was in control anymore. In the deepest chamber of the ruins, they found it. The whisper node was a sphere of crystalline material about 3 meters wide, floating in the center of an ancient chamber. It pulsed with light that hurt to look at, and it sang. The song was beautiful and terrible and wrong. It promised knowledge and power and salvation, but Marcus knew it was all lies. "Plant the charges," he ordered. "Maximum yield. We're going to turn this entire mountain into glass." Dr. Tanaka's voice came through on his communicator, transmitted through the silence field generators his team carried. "Marcus, I'm reading massive energy buildup. The node is going critical. You have less than 10 minutes. Understood." Marcus's team moved with practiced efficiency, placing quantum explosives around the node and throughout the chamber. These weren't normal explosives. They would rupture space-time itself, erasing everything in a kilometer radius from existence. But before they could finish, Imperator Zalvoth entered the chamber. The ancient Velkaran ruler looked terrible. His body was twisted, covered in strange crystalline growths that pulsed with the same light as the whisper node. He was being transformed, consumed, turned into part of the infection. But somewhere inside he was still aware enough to understand what was happening. "You," he rasped at Marcus. "You humans, always interfering, always thinking you know best. This thing will kill everyone," Marcus said, not lowering his weapon. "Including you. Including your empire. Is that what you want?" Zalvoth laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "My empire? The humans destroyed my empire. You came back and turned my subjects against me. You made me weak, so I sought power, and I found it." "That's not power," Marcus said. "That's death. That thing is using you." For a moment, something like clarity returned to the Imperator's eyes. He looked down at his transformed body, at the crystalline growth spreading across his skin. "What have I done?" he whispered. Then the whisper reasserted control. Zalvoth's eyes went blank again, and he lunged at Marcus with inhuman speed.